It all happened in less than 10 minutes. A couple walked out of a shopping mall feeling humiliated, expelled without any apparent reason by a security guard. But what no one expected was that before they even reached their car, that same guard would be fired on the spot. What really happened? This is the story of how a single prejudice ended a career in the blink of an eye. It was an ordinary afternoon at the busiest mall in the city. Luxury stores, families strolling around, and the echo of laughter and conversations filled the massive space, illuminated by flawless white lights. Among the crowd, a couple caught the attention of the security guard. He stood near one of the main entrances, watching as usual, his brow furrowed and his hands crossed over his impeccably pressed uniform. The couple, a woman in her 30s and her husband, a robust man with an easy laugh, walked calmly through the corridor. Both were dressed simply but tastefully. She wore a floral dress, and he had on a blue button-down shirt and dark jeans. They held hands, pointing at shop windows and chatting. No one else seemed to notice them, but the guard's eyes followed them intently. His name was Ricardo Salcedo, a middle-aged man and veteran security guard known for his strict demeanor. He had worked at the mall for over a decade and prided himself on his ability to detect suspicious situations. Though he never said it out loud, his biases often led him to distrust certain customers, especially those who didn't fit what he considered the right profile for such an exclusive place. When the couple paused in front of a luxury watch store, Ricardo decided to act. He approached them with firm steps, the sound of his boots echoing on the polished floor. "Excuse me, can I help you with something?" he asked in an authoritative tone, though he had no real intention of helping. Both turned to him, surprised, exchanging a glance. "No, we're fine, thank you," the woman replied politely, though with a hint of discomfort. Ricardo didn't move. Instead, he scanned them from head to toe, stopping at their hands, which held neither shopping bags nor signs of recent purchases. "Are you sure? This place has pretty strict rules for people who are just browsing." The comment landed like a bucket of cold water. The man frowned, but it was the woman who responded, trying to stay calm. "We're here because my husband is looking for a watch for his birthday. But if it's not a problem, may we continue browsing the stores?" Ricardo narrowed his eyes. To him, it sounded like too common an excuse. Although there was nothing suspicious in their behavior, an inner voice, one he never questioned, insisted they didn't belong there. "I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave," he said. The man took a step forward, disbelief written all over his face. "Excuse me? Why are you asking us to leave? We haven't done anything wrong." "It's a preventive measure," Ricardo replied, holding his ground. His tone was almost condescending. "I've noticed you've been walking through several stores without buying anything, and we don't want any misunderstandings." A heavy silence followed. The woman shook her head slowly, as though she couldn't believe what was happening. "This is absurd," she finally said. "We've never been treated like this before." Before they could argue further, Ricardo raised his hand. "Please, let's not make this more complicated. It's my job to ensure all customers feel comfortable. You're welcome to return later, but for now, I need you to leave." Stunned, the couple chose not to escalate the situation. With gestures of indignation and murmurs of frustration, they turned and headed for the exit. Their departure didn't go unnoticed by other shoppers. Some watched while others whispered among themselves. Ricardo, satisfied, adjusted his belt and returned to his post by the door, confident that he had done his duty. But what Ricardo didn't realize was that someone had been watching him. From the second floor, Andrea Martinez, the mall's general manager, had witnessed the entire scene while chatting with a colleague near the railing. At first, she thought it was a simple misunderstanding. But when she heard Ricardo asking the couple to leave without any apparent justification, her expression hardened. Andrea was a woman of firm character, known for not tolerating injustices, and this behavior was unacceptable. Within seconds, she descended the escalator, phone in hand, calling the head of security. When she reached Ricardo, her face was a mix of indignation and disappointment. "Ricardo," she said in a cold, professional tone, "I need to speak with you. Right now." Startled, Ricardo nodded and followed her to a more secluded area. Andrea wasted no time confronting him. I just saw you expel a couple without a valid reason. What were you thinking? I was just doing my job, Andrea, he replied, crossing his arms. That couple was just wandering around the stores. It's behavior that could lead to trouble. Andrea looked at him with a mix of disbelief and anger. Trouble, she repeated, raising her voice just enough to convey the seriousness of the matter. The only problem here is that your personal biases led you to make an entirely inappropriate decision. Before Ricardo could protest, the security supervisor arrived. Andrea explained what had happened and, without hesitation, made a drastic decision. Ricardo, you're fired. Effective immediately. Ricardo froze. What? Over this? After everything I've done for this place? Andrea was clear and direct. We do not tolerate racism or injustice in this mall. If you don't understand that after all these years, then you never truly understood the values of this place. Please hand over your ID and belongings in the office. Within minutes, Ricardo was escorted out of the building. Meanwhile, Andrea rushed to find the couple he had expelled. She finally spotted them in the parking lot, about to get into their car. "Excuse me," she said, her expression sincere with regret. "I'm the mall's general manager, and I want to apologize for what just happened. The person who treated you that way no longer works here." The man and woman exchanged a surprised glance. The woman spoke first, her tone softening slightly. "We appreciate your apology, but this shouldn't have happened in the first place." "You're absolutely right," Andrea replied earnestly. "I hope you'll give us another chance to welcome you as customers." Although they didn't stay, Andrea's gesture made it clear that someone was willing to make things right. For Ricardo, that day marked the beginning of many lessons he would need to learn. For the couple, it was a reminder of the work still needed to combat prejudice. And for everyone who witnessed it, it became an example of how one wrong action can end everything, no matter how long you've been in a place. Thank you for reading until the end. If this story made you reflect, don't miss the next one I recommend here. It's another important perspective to help understand and combat racism. Let's keep the conversation going. Click now to join the discussion about what truly matters.